we think about some of the particular groups who might be missed when we're thinking about identifying child sexual abuse or child sexual exploitation, if we think about disability and learning disabilities, I think there's a number of issues around those children, and there's been a brilliant piece of research done into that cohort called Unprotected, Overprotected, and actually I think that sums it up really well. So quite often these groups of children are deemed as being non-sexual beings, so they aren't seen as having the same needs, wants, desires as other children of the same age, and therefore they're not given the same opportunities to safely explore relationships, to understand healthy relationships or to develop relationships, and they're also not given the same level of education and input, which massively increases their vulnerability to abuse and exploitation. There's also their ability to communicate it effectively, so quite often they don't have that same ability to articulate what's happening to them, which can increase risk, and professionals don't want to go there. It's even more uncomfortable, I think, for many people thinking about the abuse and exploitation of a child with a learning disability or a physical disability than perhaps it is for their peers. The other group within that cohort that are significantly at risk is those with moderate learning disabilities that you wouldn't necessarily be able to tell. So quite often these might go undiagnosed, or even if they are diagnosed, they're still in mainstream school, they don't necessarily have additional support, therefore they don't receive that extra level of protection. But their ability to pick up on cues in relationships, their ability to understand or to internalise the education that is given about how to keep safe, how to recognise abuse, what to do in those situations isn't going to be the same as their peers. So one of the things we talk about is the grooming line, and one of the things that we make very clear to young people is actually in those very early stages of grooming that the relationship looks very similar to the development of a healthy relationship. And it's some of those subtleties that we ask people to look for or to identify in terms of recognising when they might be at risk. A child with a learning disability is less likely to be able to pick up on those subtle social cues or to understand when it's starting to become something that they should be worried about. So really important that we tailor our interventions, that we tailor our early intervention and prevention and education to meet the learning needs of this cohort of children as well, and recognise that it's still possible for them to be victims.
One of the things that keeps leaping up at me and really alarms me is the experience of people with disabilities and their journey through the criminal justice process. We have a whole section of the population who are they're marginalised anyway because of their disabilities. Everybody is fighting at the moment for things they're entitled to, so they're being excluded in the benefits system and things like that. But then, you know, you have a really serious offence and they're actually marginalised once more because, well, how are we going to question them? You know, how are they going to stand in the witness box and answer questions legibly, even through a registered intermediary? So the experience of people with certain disabilities really worries me. I do feel that they are excluded and therefore sometimes feel invalidated and don't come forward for support.